Manchester United and Liverpool are linked with a sensational £6 million move for Borussia Mönchengladbach midfielder Denis Zakaria. This has been revealed by a leading UK-based journalist, highly credible, that a potential £6 million move could happen for the midfielder, who is, of course, out of contract in June 2022. Harry Maguire has also been ruled out of the game with Wolverhampton Wanderers this evening, with many Man United fans questioning whether or not the injury is true and has he actually been dropped after an abysmal start to this season. The captain is under massive pressure, will not be playing tonight. Who will step in and replace him? We'll be discussing that live on the show today and taking a look at the crisis talks going on at Chelsea Football Club today. Romelu Lukaku and Thomas Tuchel will sit down and discuss the fallout from the ill-advised, horrific interview that he gave with Sky Italia, which has caused rictions, ricochets, ripples, explosions and debate across the entire Chelsea fraternity. The club are backing Thomas Tuchel. The squad are backing Thomas Tuchel. So what does the future hold for Lukaku now? Make sure you smash that like and that share button. Make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace. Let's do this. Morning, everybody. I hope that you are well. Afternoon, evening, good night, wherever you are around the world. Thank you very much for tuning in. Big transfer story trending today. Denis Zakaria of Borussia Mönchengladbach is linked with a move to Man United and Liverpool. There are a host of other teams, including Juve and Borussia Dortmund, also looking at this very talented midfield player. £6 million is the price tag. Ignore the price tag. His contract runs out in the summer. Therefore, any transfer fee that is proposed, negotiated, and dealt with in this January window will always be a huge reduction on the actual value of the player. This has kind of come a little bit out of the blue. He's not a name that's been linked with Man United overtly in recent weeks, with the likes of Kamara, Hadara, even Declan Rice being discussed far more in the mainstream media than of today. But Jonathan Schrager, who is he is a very credible voice in the journalistic space. Very occasionally comes out with some transfer news. Very close to Manchester United. Someone who's well worthwhile trusting, believes that this is a deal that Manchester United have looked at. Doesn't make Man United the front runners. Liverpool, of course, looking for reinforcements as soon as possible. Still haven't replaced Gini Wijnaldum. Of course, they've lost Naby Keita now for at least the next month-ish with his nation away at the AFCON, as it were. And this could be a very good deal for Liverpool Football Club. On top of that, there'll be a breadth of European clubs also looking at this player because he's highly talented. So it's going to be intriguing to see what's done. There's so many players of quality that are coming up and are going to be available from the summer free of charge. You're going to see a big scramble for these individuals, and many football fans believe this is going to become part of the course moving forward. Lots of players running down contracts, creating these big bidding wars. The salaries and the signing on fees these players will get will be very, very big indeed. The other end of the spectrum is clubs may be forced into selling their players sooner rather than later if they want to recoup anything. From Gladbach's point of view, £6 million income, they free the salary up, as it were. They can then try to reinvest that as best they can into another player. Of course, they don't operate in the same markets as the Bayern Munichs, the Man Uniteds, and the Liverpool, so they'll be looking to find the next Denis Zakaria to bring into Gladbach. But it's definitely an interesting deal. Jamie here says a Bundesliga tax is a load of old cack. Look, I look at it like this. It's horses for courses. Playing in Germany is very, very difficult, but there are differences in between that league and the Prem. The same as there are differences between Serie A and the La Liga. Some people can leave the German league, play in England, and make it work. Some players, a great example, Philip Coutinho. I think he plays his best football in England. As an example, there are some people who might struggle in the Prem, who might be brilliant in the Prem, but not so good elsewhere. There are some people that are brilliant outside the Prem and may not be able to make it here. You never really know. This is the cold hard facts of it. Nobody really knows. No one does. Who can handle coming? Sadio Mane is a great example. Now, he wasn't in Germany, but he was in Austria, which I'm led to believe play a fairly similar way to German football, but just a lower standard. He adapted instantly to the Premier League. You just don't know. And the reason why I reject the notion of Bundesliga tax is one guy I know claims all the time it exists, but at the same time still says that Lewandowski is the best player in the world. The best striker in the world. That can't exist if Bundesliga tax exists, because it means that every goal he scores domestically is worth less than that of a striker in La Liga or in the Prem. So yeah, I don't buy into that notion at all. I just believe that some people can't handle the physicality and speed of the Premier League, which exists more so here than any of the other leagues lower down the table. Of course, the very best teams in Germany, France, Italy have that. Spain, Italy have that. So when you start going down to the second half of the table, the difference is astronomical. And there's so many that have said it. But look, Denis Zakaria, what do you think about him as a player? If you're a Man United or a Liverpool fan, how good a deal could this be, in your opinion? If you're a rival fan, is it a signing that makes you a little nervous about those squads improving as we go into the second half of the season now, the business end of the season, securing Champions League football, challenging for the honours? Could this be an important signing for either one of those clubs? I want to go to your live comments here. Any news on moves for Tolisso and Saul? Yeah, I've not heard anything about those two. I know, obviously, is it pronounced Saul? I've read. I know he's available in the summer for free, but I've not read a single link to a Premier League club whatsoever. So yeah, I haven't seen any of that, my friend. I just haven't. Yikes, Terry! You promised a 3-horse race. I didn't promise anything. I believe that Liverpool and Chelsea would have the staying power. It's not on me that they've collapsed. That's not my fault, champ. Damn. Sorry, I ruined it for everybody because I thought that Chelsea and Liverpool were better than they are. Cheers, bro. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. I'd rather Basuma than Zakaria. Prem proven is what El Lad has got to say. And I think some people would agree with you. There is always less of a risk signing a player that's already here. There certainly is, because you know they can handle the league. There's always a risk with any signing that it works at your club, your system, the pressure that comes with it. Signing someone who's Prem proven is again less of a risk than going for somebody in Germany or Spain. And then going for somebody in Germany or Spain, I always find is less of a risk than going for someone in Portugal or France. And as you go further down the pecking order, the lower the level you go to, the higher the risk always is. You've just got to hope that the scouts are watching and assessing the right elements in a player to make sure they fit. Morning, Captain Sal. Hope you are good. There we go. Living rent-free in your head, Jorginho, my guy. I don't know where that's come from, but there we go. Thank you. Title race was an empty promise, but at least the top 4 race is much wider. Yeah, absolutely. Look, and things could turn around again. My view is this, though. This is why I'm putting it down to Liverpool and Chelsea collapsing. I'll tell you why. If I, as a Man United fan, would have sat on this show 3 weeks now, if I'd have sat here a month ago and said, by January 1st, City will have an 11-point, 12-point gap at the top of the league. Chelsea and Liverpool will, over the Christmas period, are not going to win a game. Chelsea are going to drop points, are only going to win 1 game. You'd have all called me a hater. You'd have all said, why are you being negative? Why are you being disrespectful? Why are you being a hater on Liverpool and Chelsea? Nobody would have accepted it as an actual opinion, because most Chelsea fans and Liverpool fans believed they were going to stay total. They may have believed that City were going to win the league, but they didn't believe that by halfway through the season, their seasons in the Premier League would be all but over. They're now hoping on a big Man City collapse to save their season. And it isn't partly because City keep winning. It keeps applying the pressure. But that's what it is. Chelsea and Liverpool are good enough to win the games that they've, barring Brighton for Chelsea, they were the better team in nearly all these. Look at all the draws they've had. 6, 7 draws in their last 10 games. They were the better team in all but one of those matches. They just didn't win. And, Chelsea fans know it's on them. But this is the great thing about football. You go again. This is, you go again, you start again. It's a revolution, football. It continues to go on. They know where their improvements need to be. Maybe it's certain individuals need to go out and they go again next year. But Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, so far this season have failed in their Premier League quest because they should all have been in a title race with the squads and money they've spent, and none of them have achieved it yet. Let's see what happens in the second half of the campaign. There could be a collapse from City. They could lose a few players. Who knows? But right now, Man City have just absolutely laid down a marker and nobody's been able to respond to it. Sam, this is the best comment. No, Terry, you said it would go down to the last game. I planned my 2022 first half of the year on your words. You should be ashamed. Awful season. Thanks. Sam, honestly, bruv, that is one of the very, very best comments we've ever had on the Football Terrace. So thank you, brother. A big, get your emojis out, people. Big, big round of applause there. That is absolutely brilliant. Love the sarcasm as well. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal comment, my friend. We are opening up the lines for you to come on and have your say as well. Now, I want to speak about Lukaku and the situation that's going on there today. So I spoke with somebody yesterday, and I'll be very mindful. I can't reveal who the person is, but highly connected. Knows a lot of people at Chelsea Football Club, very well respected in the Chelsea scene, especially in the Chelsea scene. And what they told me yesterday is that a meeting is going to be held tomorrow. He said early in the week, and then he told me it was going to be Monday because he then found out, to discuss the future of Lukaku at Chelsea Football Club. And when they say future, right now, they want to try and resolve things. They want to get back on an even keel. They want to get the player back on side so he's happy. They want to make sure that he apologizes internally and that, there is no issues. They want to try and make it work. £100 million signing. That would be the ideal option for Chelsea to get everything resolved. They've consulted with the squad. And one of the things I was told yesterday is that the squad are in full support of Thomas Tuchel. There was a rumor going around earlier on that some disgruntled players at Chelsea were kind of siding or believed some of the things that Lukaku said to be true around systems formations. This turns out to be completely untrue. Everybody that works at a certain capacity and level within Chelsea has been communicated internally. This meeting is going to go ahead. The squad is fully behind Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel, I've been told, has made it very clear as well that he wants to reserve the power to be able to not play Lukaku if Lukaku doesn't play ball. So whether it's during their conversations in the meeting today that they're not happy with what Lukaku says and he tries to force this move, whether they resolve everything today, but then in 2 weeks, Lukaku's back to his games again, Thomas Tuchel wants to reserve the right to not be told to play him. So he does not want the board's involvement in terms of picking his football team. That's the only kind of message that Thomas Tuchel was put in at board level to say, I want the power, the control, the anonymity to be able to handle this situation in the right way. As it stands right now, the Chelsea board are fully behind Thomas Tuchel, the same as his squad. The club is absolutely outraged with what Lukaku has done. Zero communication into these things being done, and they want to look to resolve it. Now, what's interesting is that there's a lot of news outside of Chelsea that Lukaku is going to push for a move away, that Lukaku would like to go and play for Antonio Conte, I've read in an Italian newspaper today. There's, of course, the big claims yesterday from the brother of the interview, who was present at the interview with Lukaku, who said that he would go back to Inter Milan today, tomorrow, next week, if the deal could be struck. So it's going to be intriguing to see what comes out of the crisis talks and the meetings internally. What I was told is that the player and the manager will speak first, and then the manager will speak with the board to kind of go through everything that's been said, what they all want to do, and come to a resolution. What is very impressive so far from Chelsea is the swiftness they've acted with. the fact they removed the player from the situation. And although there are certain players that are looking to potentially move on, what I was also told yesterday is that this isn't a crisis for Chelsea. This isn't 2 or 3 players not happy with with the manager in the direction of the club looking to move away. It's simply some players looking at their futures and saying, but where do I want to be? Do I want to sign my last ever contract and finish it at Chelsea? Or do I fancy playing football in a different country, in a different league, with a different manager? Because that's part of my plan. And I think that that's come to a head in a particular way. This Lukaku news hasn't helped, but these were all the things I was told yesterday afternoon. And as I say, I very rarely talk like this on a football terrace, but I did have a conversation with somebody very well connected to Chelsea Football Club who, they told me this yesterday afternoon. I tweeted there would be a crisis meeting early this week, and very late last night, The Athletic, the Daily Mail all started going ahead with this news. So I was quite relieved when it did, because I was a little bit nervous to tweet about it and talk about it, because I'm not a journalist. I don't profess to be a journalist. I'm not trying to be a journalist, but I've been so intrigued by this story and the handling of it and everything else. So Lukaku right now is, Thomas Tuchel wants to get it resolved. He wants to get the best out of Lukaku. They're going to try and be professional. They're going to try and be men. They're going to try and be grown up. But as it stands right now, the club are fully behind Thomas Tuchel. The players are fully behind Thomas Tuchel. And they're making that stance very, very clear indeed. So it's going to be very intriguing to look at this and see how this works out and what happens moving forward. But I want to kind of ask fans the question here. What do you want to see happen? Are you happy for him to essentially apologize and say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it. I'm going to get down and work hard, start scoring, re-earn credibility? Do you want him out irrespective, or are you kind of in the middle with this? I'm intrigued to know what you, the fans, think. Get your comments into us. We are going to go to calls. We're talking Harry Maguire a little bit later on the Done Deal show as well, because I'm a little bit intrigued by his timely injury. And we'll speak about that. I'm not normally a conspiracy theorist, but maybe this is the right way to slowly start pushing him out of the team. Maybe take the captain's armband away. Maybe I'm looking too deep into this. We're going to chat about that a little bit later. Fraser here says, sell him. He's a rat. Talking about Lukaku. Football Matters says, if we dropped Basuma in our team, Terry will thrive. I have no doubt. Fair enough. What do you think if Chelsea plays the way they played? If Chelsea plays the way they played with Chelsea, defensive is not the only solution. I don't kind of get what you mean there. We're not really talking about that. I don't really understand the question in the context of what we're speaking about with Lukaku. The media is just too toxic. If players refuse an interview, they find ways to write something bad about that. Lukaku should be in a place that a place that loves him. Sad Intermanage could not handle it well. Look, I would say this, my friend. Everybody has the right to be happy at work. They do. But the biggest issue here with Lukaku, yes, some of the things you've said are triggering the fans. Airing some of Chelsea's dirty linen in public around the system isn't right. A lot of Chelsea supporters that I've spoken to have kind of said, but they kind of get where he's coming from. If he's not happy, the system, But it's the way you handle things. Yeah, the media is toxic. The media all spread these stories. Don't speak to him then. If the media make up a lie about Lukaku, it won't damage his reputation in the dressing room. It won't create a problem between him and his manager. Then the club and the management can come out and 100% defend Lukaku, and the fans are on his side. Blaming the media for this is ridiculous. Lukaku is 110% at fault. They haven't, in fairness to the media, they haven't even misquoted him. They haven't twisted his words. It's an interview, verbatim. He has done this, and he's opened up a can of worms. And the craziest thing is, where this is really backfired, is Inter Milan are not sitting there with their arms wide open saying, please come back. The fans don't want it. He is literally right now just ostracized himself from everybody, and they've got to try and find a solution to this. They really, really do. Lukaku is a small club bully. That's why he wants to go back to Italy, is what Star-Lord has got to say. I've seen a few people with that kind of opinion. Maybe he feels like the pressure is too difficult. Lukaku wouldn't get on the Bayern Munich bench. Eric Maxim Chouamotting is better. funny. Lukaku will end up like Aubameyang if he is not sorted soon. He could be salty about being dropped yesterday too. Well, maybe he is. And the one thing I would say about resolving this matter, I personally don't see Chelsea getting it resolved to the degree where Lukaku is eventually back long-term playing in this team. Lukaku's history and behaviours tell me that this isn't the end. Irrespective of what's resolved today, irrespective of what message is pushed out, even if that message is true and they've shook hands and everybody's going to get on again, I don't think Lukaku at 28, 29 years of age is changing his character. I don't know him personally, but there are too many of these stories, too many of these incidents over his career that have happened. There's too much smoke. There's got to be some fire there. And I just think he's a bit of a bad apple, which is really unfortunate because he's a highly talented football player. But barring Inter Milan, I don't follow Italian football, so I don't know. But there's problems with him and behaviours at Man United. There's issues now at Chelsea. I was reading some stuff that when he was at Everton, some of his attitudes and behaviours and sort of thinking he was above and beyond that club from very early doors existed. So there are a number of these stories that have circulated before. So look, it's going to be very intriguing to see how this works out and how this happens. I want to go to your calls though. We are talking Lukaku a little bit later on the show as well. We're speaking about Denis Zakaria as well and his potential move to Man United or Liverpool. The link to call in is pinned in the live comment section. It'd be great to hear from you. I did see a comment from my brother Lamin here that says only acceptable performance from Lukaku is a goal and a performance on the pitch. And of course, that's a way of winning people back over. Fans are very fickle mind. If he would have played yesterday and scored the winner, there'd have been a lot of happy people with him. But Chelsea just need to be careful here and protect their manager because if they don't fully trust this guy, who knows what could happen in the future? That's what they need to make sure they're looking at. By the way, people, we delayed it a few days because I had a lot on over Christmas. But tomorrow we're going to have a members-only stream that is available where we're going to be discussing some transfer news and some other bits and pieces. I'm tweeting the link to that now in the live comment section. So if you are a member, get that bookmark for tomorrow evening. Please get that done. If you want to become a member now, we're going to be doing 2 member streams a month moving forward now in 2022. Plus, we are going to start. We had to delay the start of the Football Terrace away days because sort of 8 weeks ago, everything with sort of CV started to pop its head up again and grow. We just decided as a company that we would delay bringing hordes of people together, the same as a Friday night on the Terrace show. I've taken the decision to, for the temporary period, stop making that in the studio, especially over Christmas and New Year. Just didn't want anybody having that period of time ruined for themselves. So that'll be on its way back. But member only stream tomorrow night at 7 p.m. You have to be an Academy member or higher to be able to join us for that. So I've posted that link in the live comment section. It's also available on our homepage as well. That'll be 7 p.m. tomorrow, members only. Right, let's get to some of your calls now, my people. First on the show, we've got Winter Surfer coming up soon. We've got Nathaniel, we've got Shrey, we've got Matt on the show now. What are you saying, Matt?
Being up to Terry, I mean, this news has been going on for days on end, and on my perspective of it is I'm quite embarrassed, just like 90% of the Chelsea fans are. And I personally want him out of the club. I'm not a big fan of the mentality and mindset of this player. And if he's going to continue to diss the manager, diss the squad, diss the fans on everything we've done to him, it's time for him to go. If he privately spoke to Tuchel came out publicly and said it, that would have been perfectly fine. But at this time, it's not the right time to do it. We're already in a crisis, and he just adds to that. Personally, we've got so many other issues, and he just added to that, which was the wrong time. We all understand what he's saying. You know, he's not perfect in his whatever his style of play or whatever excuses he was doing, but he's worth £100 million, Terry. He needs to be moving and creating his own structure if he doesn't like it. That's what he player is. Why is he coming out publicly and shaming a manager who nearly every single Chelsea fan loves and criticizing his tactics? That's like criticizing the teacher when the student doesn't listen. It's like, if you're not listening, how are you going to learn? That's the same thing with Lukaku, and it's quite embarrassing. I hope sometime in January we can get a swap deal or something. But if you put the thing that, you know, after this meeting, what happens, if Tuchel and Romelu, they make up, it's still not going to be the same thing. It's still not going to be the same. I don't see it being the same like it was before. I do think this ruined it. But if he comes in, he starts scoring goals, whatever, I'm perfectly fine with that because it's helping our club. It's helping our badge. We don't care how he's doing it. We just want him to help our badge. But we're not going to look at Lukaku the same anymore.
Mate, I get that completely. I think that it's yes, they're going to look to resolve it, but I've got the same feeling as you. Lukaku will do something else. There'll be something else that happens, and the problem is when if you do something wrong in like you could be in a relationship and you can cheat on your partner, you can resolve it, spend weeks fixing it, and then you'll have a night where you go out and maybe you're 2 hours late home because you were having a good time with your friends. Stuff from the past is going to come up because it'll be like, but where were you? Why? Because you can't ever some things can't ever be healed. And I personally, if I was a Chelsea fan, I don't trust Lukaku enough to not make more mistakes moving forward, to not put himself above the club again moving forward. And you've seen, I'm not necessarily putting this situation now. Putting it down to the reason why Chelsea have had this collapse in results in the last 10 games, but it can't have helped because he sounds like, I know he said that he's given his all, but it sounds like all these things. How could he be 100% dedicated to making Chelsea the best team possible? How could his attitude at the club been 100% right if he's thinking and feeling like this? I don't think those two things you can't be 100% dedicated to making Chelsea the best team in the world and think and believe the things that he's out there saying now. So I do agree with you. I think it's going to be very difficult to resolve this situation indeed. I mean, in terms of moving him on, is it something you would like the club to actively look to do as soon as possible? Do you think wait till the summer? Like, how do you think it's best?
Personally, we've already had issues where we need right now a wing back. We need this, we need that. I personally think January has to be this window. I mean, we've all stated nearly every single day. I've been saying that January is not a transfer window. We don't make transfers like this, 100 million signings. There's not transfers like this. These are for loans and all these other small transfers. So we need to go out for someone now. I hate to be saying this. I really hate to be saying it, but we need to go for who we prioritized back last summer, Haaland or Vlahovic. Is it top priority? Possibly not, but it's up there and it needs to be done. When? Now? If not, has to be August, because what's going to happen with Lukaku? We can dictate that in about 2-3 hours or even 12 hours whenever that meeting happens, because that's going to be very, very important.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from. I think you need to act quickly. What's really interesting is Tottenham. So there's a link in the media with a potential move him. And what I'm going to do actually, because I want to get a bit of a group discussion going on this, I'm going to throw in Winter Surfer and Nathaniel into this conversation as well, because I want to get a few different opinions. Before that, Legacy One says Lukaku, yeah, good comeback by Chelsea, but did you watch the Inter comeback against Atalanta? That's beautiful. Obviously, a lot of memes going around as well, which are not going to help the situation either. A few people are asking how to upgrade their membership and stuff. I'm not too sure. There's a link that you can use for membership. I'm just going to look at these links here. One second here. I'm just going to share. A few people have DM'd me asking for it. I don't know, because I don't know where you're based and where you're at and why it's not working. Just take a look on the page. Click on what you can do. If you go to the Football Terrace homepage, it's like a perks bit. Click on the perks and there might be an option in there. So just a few of you that are trying to upgrade or add your membership now, I've sent you some links. I posted some links in the live comments section as well for you. So go and check that out for us. I know a few people had problems recently. Quite a lot of people have said they didn't realize their membership had even run out. It just stopped updating automatically. So go and get it checked out, because you might think you're a member for tomorrow, but realized you might not be available. So just go and give that a check, my people. So Winter Surfer and Nathaniel coming on with us now as well. How you doing, gents? You all good?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. The reason I wanted to bring a sort of a few of you in together was there's kind of like talk about Tottenham at the moment, potentially interested in Lukaku. This has come from Italy, so again, I'm not claiming anybody in the UK has kind of pushed this notion forward. But let's just say, for instance, Spurs came in and said, look, could we work on a deal? Conte would love Lukaku. Lukaku would love to play for Conte again. Would you be willing for him to go to Tottenham?
If they offer Harry Kane, yeah.
Even in general. I think even in general, just give it to him.
No way at all. That's not happening.
No,
the only thing is, there's still some bad blood from that Modric thing 10 years ago. So I don't know if they would be willing to do that. But if I don't think straight up deal, I think they'd want they try and get Kane or Son in the deal to come across. I think that's the only way you do it, really.
What about in general? In general, if it's just money,
In general,
I would take money.
No.
Surely.
Nah. You can't put
I would
Lukaku
sell
in
him.
Go back to Italy or wherever. No.
But if Tottenham's the only one who wants him, surely we'll just get rid of him.
Well then,
Oh,
my thing was if it comes down to that, I don't know. I just don't think you listen. Conte with Spurs, we're beginning to see the fruits of the labour at this moment in time. I don't think you strengthen them at all. If you have a chance to strengthen them, you don't.
Sorry,
you can't give Spurs Lukaku. Like that's not. You can't give a team that's a top 4 race of us a guy that's lethal at the end of the day. I imagine, like Kane, would he perform for us? I'm not too sure. Lukaku, we all know under Conte how good he would be.
What did Arsenal do in 2012? They strengthened Man United. They gave him Robin van Persie. You don't do that. You don't do that.
It could be an effect for us. 50-50. You don't know.
But only if Kane and Son are involved in the deal. That's the only way I'd do it.
Kane looks like he's leaving anyway.
I kind of agree with Winter. So I understand moving him on, but you have to sometimes as well. You have to play the longer game. If you improve Chelsea that much, Spurs that much, and you don't get Vlahovic. He goes to Juve, and Haaland goes to City. You could end up in the scary thing about Lukaku is that if he clicks into gear, it's massive. Someone told me to go check out Absolute Chelsea here. So there's a few things here on Absolute Chelsea. So first one is it's low. So I thank you very much, Harry, for directing me that way on Super Chat. But I don't know which story you want me to look at. One here from Damasio that says Barcelona are one of the reasons why Christensen's contract extension has stalled. Azpilicueta wants a 2-year contract extension with a further option, but Chelsea are only willing to offer an initial 1-year deal. That's why that deal's slowing down. Dean Jones has said here that Lukaku is a bit surprised by how brutal the fallout has been from the interview. Lukaku was advised not to do the interview because of the risks of potential fallout. So Lukaku's already coming back in with this sort of, and Dean Jones, very trustworthy, sort of like that would be my worry here. You've kind of got Lukaku playing this, but Prime said this privately yesterday, and I'm going to bring Prime in because I'm calling him out. Prime's like, yeah, but he didn't say anything that was actually wrong. He shouldn't have done it, but it wasn't actually wrong. I can't buy into that. Lukaku. Yeah, for me, it's like he did something massively wrong. We're going to bring in Lamin and Prime as well. Got a few more of you backstage that we're going to bring in. Thank you to Martin Whitaker, who has signed up as a member of the Football Terrace. You'll be able to join us for that show tomorrow night, along with most of the others that are around as well. Become an Academy member of the Terrace, so thank you. But Prime's here with me now. Lamin is here as well. What are you saying, gents?
Appreciate that, Terry. Thank you.
No, but you did say it. Lukaku, and this is the point where I said to you yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I'll use my analogy. You're not. I understand where you're coming from. Lukaku might say, but I was only talking the truth, my truth. Am I not allowed to do it? But I said this to Prime yesterday, and I'll stand by this. I'll use nicer words than I said behind the scenes. This is rhetorical to all you're all men on here, right? You all identify as men? Cool, right? If you're with a lady at home, can you get your willy out if she says yes?
Yes.
Yes. But if you're with the same lady and she says yes, can you get your willy out on a bus or a train?
No.
No, right? Look, what Lukaku said is fine for him to have that opinion, but you don't do it publicly. It's for private consumption only. So I don't care. It's true.
Yeah, but look,
it is true. It's like
that's a fantastic analogy.
There are certain things you can do in private at home. There are some things you do not do publicly. It's as simple as that for me.
I know. I don't agree to him. I don't agree to him doing it publicly.
Lukaku thinks it's in a movie.
I've never agreed to him. I haven't said I agree with him saying it publicly. It should all be kept in-house. And yeah, we do have to get rid of him because not particularly this situation, but this sort of thing has happened so many times at Chelsea player power. And it stopped us from, we'll achieve success in the Premier League win, but we can't sustain that and elevate ourselves from that. And it's happened in the last 10 years, maybe 5 years. And it needs to end. So if we can make an example out of Lukaku to stomp it forever, then I'm all on board with that.
Chris here says there's kids watching. Well, listen, I use the nice word like Willie, and I didn't go into any detail, but it's a very good lesson for children to learn. Do not get it out on a bus. You'll get in trouble. It's true, though. Josh here, my brother Josh, how you doing, my bro? He says Traore to right wing back for Conte, strong links, good signing or bad? Personally, I think he's a £20 million. For £20 million, he's a good signing if he's playing wing back as well. £80 million forward, he was linked to Liverpool and City with 2 years ago, is the biggest waste of money because that guy is basically he's a cross between an extra on Magic Mike and a sprinter. Do you know what I mean? But for a wing back, he'll probably do a really good job. Definitely better than Doherty. And who else I mean, Emerson Royale's, yeah, do you know what I mean? But there we go. I'm gonna switch around some of the panel for a bit. Nathaniel, thanks for coming on, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it, brother, and all your support. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We've got Sherim to come on. I want to get Leaf in here. I'm gonna bring Ram in a minute as well. But Leaf's here. Leaf's a Spurs fan. Before I go to you though, I want to speak to Lamin. How are you feeling about all this Chelsea situation at the minute, brother?
I've had some time to think about it. And I'm still very upset by it, but I do think that it's a lot of reaction going on. Emotions are very high, and the ball is now in Lukaku's foot. There's still a way for him to come back into it. What I don't want is to make an emotional decision and make our rivals stronger without getting anything back in return. So selling him to Tottenham, just accepting the money for it, knowing his record with Conte, that's not something I wouldn't accept unless we're getting paid no sum. The only acceptable apology I want from Lukaku, I don't even want him to say anything. There's nothing he can say, do or say that will make me believe his word. I know that Lukaku, to him, he kisses every barge he goes to. He does this to every club. I don't care about his words. I just want his goals and performance on the pitch. That's the only acceptable apology from him. Otherwise, he can go. Because for me now, he's burned all the bridges at Chelsea. If we can do a swap deal with Harry Kane, I'll be up for that. Otherwise, there's no point selling him to Tottenham or to our rival Premier League team just to make them stronger. That's just how I see it, really. But we'll wait and see what comes from this meeting. And hopefully, we can find a way of bringing him in. To me, it's like being stuck in an unhappy marriage now with Lukaku. He wants to go. We don't want him there, but we're stuck with him because we spend a lot of money. We have to somehow get the money back, that we spent on him. Otherwise, it's just unrealistic to just be sell him now, just acting on emotion on it. So that's just how I see it, really.
Mate, I hear you on that. Martin Whitaker, thank you very much for joining the show as well. And a little announcement as well. It was the first time ever on the football. We had our biggest ever Arsenal. It was Arsenal City, but Arsenal match reaction show on the weekend, and we actually matched the same amount of viewers. I think we're at 96,000 now as AFTV. So, and I'm complimenting AFTV here because they are the best in the business. So to actually match their numbers of people that viewed that show, humbling for the football terrace. It really was. Leaf's here with us now. Leaf's obviously he's got his camera on today, Mr. I look like Bruno Mars. What's your? I mean, you're being linked to Lukaku. Would you want him? Would you want him as a Spurs fan? Would you want him, or do you think he's too much trouble?
Sure, no problem. But no, I would not give up Kane or Son for Lukaku. You know, when we first were linked to Lukaku a few days ago, I was like, this is obviously fake. And then there are more and more news coming from different countries. We are there is some interest, and Lukaku, he wants to join Conte apparently, but it's so weird. It's a massive downgrade for him to go from a team that is challenging for titles to a team that is challenging for top four. Why would he go to Spurs? Maybe if Conte really makes us he improves us a lot and become really good, but right now just go back to Inter Milan, but then they don't need him. It's a weird one.
The one thing I'm playing devil's advocate here. Recouping that money. If, for instance, there's no one in Europe, say Chelsea decide today we have to get rid, and the only team that are willing to spend anywhere near the money to get him at Tottenham, it becomes that option, doesn't it? But we can't, because you can't keep him indefinitely. What I'd kind of like to see Roman do, if they can't come to a happy resolution internally, I'd quite like Roman to say, right, I'm gonna go get one of my cousin brothers to sponsor us some money. I'm gonna pump some more money in. Lukaku, we are gonna loan you out to SE Dons, and you are not playing. You'll get your money, but you're not going to kick a ball for Chelsea again. But you're not playing for anybody else either. You're going to go and play for SE Dons, ETFC. Like, you're going to get loaned out to a YouTube team or something. Like, I don't.
That would be great.
There's part of me that would love to see an owner of a club go, I will swallow this £100 million loss, and I'm going to send you out on loan, and you're going to play for Basingstoke FC on a Sunday morning. See you later. Honestly, I would die. It'd be so funny.
Has Roman not done that? But well, nowhere near this money, obviously not. But when he first bought the club, did he not do that before?
Well, look, I think football was very different back then, because when there was no FFP, Roman could essentially pump in as much money as he wanted. So say you had this situation with no FFP, Roman could just go, it doesn't matter, I'll spend more money. The problem you've got is owners of clubs are limited to, I think they can only pump like £80 million of their own money into a club every 3 years now. So you have to legit balance the book. So you can't just go, right, you can sit in the stands on the salary that he's on and what he costs in a transfer fee. Chelsea can't afford for him to just sit in the stands. Financially, it's impossible. Yeah. You'd have to and that's why I think it's a very small chance, but that's why some Premier League clubs might just look at it and say, well, let's have a little look here, because Chelsea's arms will be tied because of FFP. What you guys couldn't do is sign Haaland and keep Lukaku and still strengthen those central midfield areas and replenish your backline in the same way. There'd have to be a sale of the player. And obviously clubs that are interested in him will use that to their advantage, because they're just going to go, yeah, we'll give you 20 million then. So it creates a problem. It will be very interesting.
What about City? What if they could get Lukaku for, let's say, 60 million instead of 100? Would they go for that?
Well, they tried to get him, but according to Lukaku, they tried to sign him.
Yes,
so
that's true.
Maybe. Look, it's one of those ones. Chelsea will not want to give him to a Premier League rival. However, they could also be forced to and the one thing with Lukaku is, what if he keeps being a son of a gun? If he keeps doing that, you end up in such an interesting position. That's why I kind of like to see them loan him out to SE Dons and say, see you later. Do you know what I mean? Or, I don't know, another team, a little crappy team, like loan him out to, I don't know.
Let's swap him back for Tammy. Let's send him to Roma.
No.
Nobody wants Tammy back. No one wants Tammy back. Hayden,
Tammy was actually our best number 9, though. So,
no, it's Giroud. Giroud was your best number 9.
Giroud.
Tammy's proper Chelsea.
Hayden, thank you very much for becoming an Academy member as well for the Football Terrace. In other news today, we'll take it away from him for a minute. Harry Maguire is out. He's out of the clash. I'm one of these fans, and I might be the only one pushing this now, but I'm pushing it. I don't know if he's really injured. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just don't want to believe this story. I'm like, no, I think he's being managed here. I don't know. Maybe I could be completely wrong. But him being out of Man United's team tonight, good or bad news for Man United?
I heard Phil Jones might be playing. Is that true?
Yeah, I heard that as well, bro. I did hear
That'll
that
be good
as well.
for our. I think our fans want to see Phil Jones on that pitch just so we can see him. I mean, he's the biggest man in football. All of our fans love Phil Jones. I would love to see him on that pitch tonight.
Can you imagine if he plays? Thank you, CFC Andy. Thank you, Bradley, as well. And of course, the other story that's out there is Denis Zakaria, to Liverpool or Man United. Good, bad, indifferent. Like if they're both your rival clubs in the Prem.
Every transfer window, this guy's linked to everyone, and no one goes for him. You know what I mean? I mean, it's great PR and everything like that. I mean, he looks like he's got the build to suit in the Premier League, but no one ever goes in for him. And it can't be that he's at a high price either.
He was linked with
30-40 million euros or something like that.
No, actually,
he was linked with Spurs like a couple of months ago.
His contract ends this summer.
Oh, is it this summer? Maybe he'll get his move. But what I'm saying is, for the last couple of seasons, last transfer windows, everyone he seems to be linked with everyone in the transfer window.
Someone in the comment section earlier said this. I thought it was very good. They said he reminds them of younger players. Younger viewers may not remember this guy being linked to everybody for about 7 years, but William Carvalho.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
William Carvalho is that DM that every summer
Yeah.
was linked to a big move, and nobody anywhere ever bought him. And there is that case in point.
He went to Real
about-
Betis. He went to Real Betis,
Yeah.
if you remember.
He's
Carvalho.
doing okay, actually.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is, Terry's saying like he was one of those. He's like, remember how many times was he linked to Arsenal? He was definitely going to sign for Arsenal. He's the player that we're going to need. And then it moved on to Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and then he signed for Real Betis. That's what I mean. His agent's doing fantastic work, or PR company, to get him linked, but no one ever goes for him. Even now.
Andrew, does that not remind you of Hakim Ziyech?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
was thinking the
Not
same
in
thing.
Arsenal
I
for
was
so
thinking the same
long,
thing.
and he
Yeah.
came to Chelsea when he was 27, and he's a flop. Like, I think it's kind of the same thing.
No,
Hey,
but we
he's not
knew how
that much
good
of a
Hakim
flop.
Ziyech is, man. It's
He
not
wasn't.
that much. That's just we've
Yeah,
seen
we spent like
Ziyech
20 million.
and
on
had-
him.
He
It's
means
not
in the
much. It
terms
wasn't
of
a
like the
risk.
player not being linked with everyone, but not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's what he means.
Terry,
not
my
as
whole
good.
thing with like signing players from the Bundesliga and like other leagues now, it doesn't strike fear in me. Like players like Zakaria, I'm like, meh, you know. But if it was like a Basuma or someone that like I know plays well in the Premier League and wouldn't take that much of an adjustment period, I'll be like, okay, now I'm a bit worried. But I just think there's a lot more risk now getting players from other leagues coming
But
into the Premier League.
This is the thing, though. I do get that point, but remember, Bazuma came from Lille, so
Yeah.
I don't think it's of the league they're from. I think it's whether or not that player. It's never technical. No one struggles in the Prem. Technical. Well, some players are technically terrible when they arrive. You think, well, how have you gone backwards? But I don't think it's their technical ability. They look technically bad. I think they cannot handle the frenetic pace of our league. And what's interesting, and I will say this on camera because I don't care about being cancelled. I think some people have an issue with in anything that's English based or looks English being praised, especially if the praise is it's stronger, faster, more powerful. The crazy thing is, it's not suggesting that English people, the English players, are faster, stronger than European counterparts, because 70% of our league is made up by highly talented foreign players. They also they're what make it strong, fast, powerful, athletic at all levels. It's just the way the football here is. It's also why for years Premier League clubs struggled for a while in Europe because we didn't know how to slow games down. We didn't know how to be a little bit more patient. And obviously the top clubs in these big European leagues, Italy, France, Spain, they can compete with our very best teams because they have players who have the athleticism and the speed to be able to compete. And then at times I've had far superior technicians at the same time. And when you throw like great athletes and great technicians into the same boat, you're talking about the very best of the best. And I just think it's about signing someone who is going to be able to come in and fairly quickly adapt. When I look at Kai Havertz, I don't see a bad technician. I see someone that just looks half a yard too slow in everything that he does. He just hasn't customized to it. We had it at Man United. Diego Forlan was always just off the pace. Moved to Spain where it's slightly slower. Straight away, bang, clicked at his best. But you also have it the other way. Philip Coutinho, he is for me, he's a proper Premier League player. Everywhere else he's gone, he's looked okay. Inter Milan let him go for a pittance. Like Barcelona never really worked. Bayern Munich, like he had good games for them. He even went to Bayern Munich and put all the weight and muscle on, and it still didn't do too much for him. Like some people are just suited to certain leagues, whether you're English, Scottish, Brazilian, or Australian. It's not about the passport. It's just about you as an individual and that league sort of style of football. And I think that Zakaria is just an interesting player as to whether or not he's going to be able to translate that across. I'm going to update the panel. Go on, Lamin. Go on, bro. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, my only issue with that, is that when you sign foreign players in, you almost have to accept that you're writing the first season off for that adjustment period, which is my issue. I can count on one hand when I see a player from a different league coming in and just hit the ground running, and just had an amazing first season. And if you're a club that's looking to go into challenge for the league, you need players that would hit the ground running. I mean, if they're really talented, you give them time, to adjust to that period, then they can become that player. But I don't really know how good this Zakaria guy is, and he might hit the ground running, but he might also need
I hear you
more.
on that. I do. Lamin and Leaf, thank you very much, both of you, for coming on and having your say. Really appreciate it. Thank you. We've got Sarim here as well, and we've got Ram here, 2 Liverpool fans, of course, licking their wounds yesterday after falling out of the title race, their Premier League season pretty much being over. With all of us, like we're a little. I'm actually happy about it, not because I'm laughing at you lot, but more like misery loves company. Do you know what I mean?
You really know how to kick people while they're down, don't you, bro? For fuck's sake, man.
I know. We're all in the mud. We're all in the Premier League wise. We're all in the mud. You boys are Liverpool fans. I want to go to Ram first because you do proclaim to be a German football fan. Denis Zakaria, would you be happy if Liverpool signed him today for £6 million?
The thing is, I've watched him quite a bit, and he's the type of player that we need. I've always said we needed someone like a 6 or an 8, and he fits that profile. This sort of transfer reminds me of a couple of seasons ago that we failed to sign Leon Goretzka, and I don't want that to happen ever again because we've done all the due diligence with Goretzka. We've got the offer ready. We just didn't put it through, and plus he wanted Bayern Munich. If I feel as though this could be the same situation, I don't want to lose out on another promising player, and he looks like a very good player. He's not going to get into the first team straight away, but we don't need someone to get into the first team straight away. We need competition, and he will provide competition for our midfield. So I'll be very, very ecstatic if we sign him. And he's one of the players that we need, one of the 3 players I think that we need to challenge Manchester City.
How about yourself, Sarim? I mean, are you as confident in his ability to be a hit in the Premier League at Liverpool?
I'm not gonna lie, I've never watched him before, but as long as if he's better than Keita or Knox, then he can't be. Well, he'll be better than them, and he'll be a better option going forward for us. Our problem is our bench, and I think we've seen it yesterday. The second those 2 came on, our chances of winning that game just flatlined. So that's me personally. I'm not sure. As long as he's better than Knox and Keita, fine, I'll take him. But it doesn't really excite me, this signing.
I'm in the middle with it. I am in the middle. You suddenly, again, you see the clubs that are linked with him, and you think, okay, great. Very good teams, very, very good teams indeed, with Man United, Liverpool, Juve. I've read this morning are the kind of front runners. He's also a good age as well, though. I feel like it's now or never to go to a big team for him. At 25, if he hits his late 20s and no one's committed to making him part of their team going forward, like Winter Surfer said, he starts to fall into that William Carvalho kind of section. You know, you guys, as you say, we picked up Bruno Fernandes quite late, turned out to be okay, but you do run a risk with a player in their mid to late 20s who's never been picked up by a big club.
Has he been linked to Bayern by any chance? Because for some reason,
every Bundesliga, every player that doesn't play for Bayern in the Bundesliga is always linked to Bayern.
That's what I was going to say. All the best Bundesliga's players tend to be linked to Bayern Munich.
He's been been linked with Bayern and Dortmund have been more interested, but they've got so many midfielders that they just don't need him. They really don't.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But I feel as though we could do with someone like him because
we need options.
He reminds me of I wouldn't say he's as good as him, but he reminds me a lot like Declan Rice. The way he plays, he's very dominant as a 6, but he can also drive with the ball. Not as good as Declan Rice, but he's good enough.
What should worry you is that he's been linked again so many clubs for quite a few years now. Like I just said, a couple of months ago or a few months ago during the season, he was linked with a move to Roma and looked like it was wrapped up. He was also linked to Spurs. The fact that he's constantly being linked to clubs, but like nothing's materialized yet. Is there something other clubs have seen that we don't know?
But the thing is he's not going to be starting for us. He's not starting for us. He's going to be challenging everyone else. So it's just, for me, is an extra body that is of quality as well.
You say that though, and I understand your point, but I don't think when you're Liverpool Football Club, you should be signing anybody that's just there to be a bench player. Unless, look, if you're picking, I know he's £6 million, but that's because his contract's running out. You sign someone with the profile of, then he's got to come in with the attitude of, I want to play first team for Liverpool. Yeah, and that's what Jota did, and it improved your team. When you signed Shaqiri, the reason he didn't work out is because he signed knowing him and willing and was happy to just be on that bench every week. You need, if someone, even if you sign a right winger, you need that right winger to come in with the attitude of I will or I want to push Mo Salah out of the team. That's where I think there's certain part of the reason why City are in front of you this year is because everybody wants everybody else's places, and there's this great competitive nature within the dressing room at City. At Liverpool, too many of your players now, their positions are set in stone. No one there to challenge. Nobody there that, there is no one that can oust Mane. No one that can take Mo Salah out. No
Do you
one
think
that can take too many of your players, like 7 or 8 of them, they are guaranteed to start if they're fit. And I think maybe that's made things a little bit lackadaisical, Slightly at the elite end of the spectrum against
that's
everybody
definitely
else.
happened? And I want to add to that, it's probably a mixture of silk pajama syndrome as well. Like,
Yeah, no, I hear you.
yeah,
I
no, but even like, for example, the other end of the spectrum, like Brentford and Brighton, we were winning those games, but as soon as they started giving us a bit of a fight, we didn't want it anymore. And that's why I think it's partly silk pajama syndrome. Do you remember when Prince Nassim Ahmed was sitting in his luxury hotel and laughing at his next opponent because he's like running in the mountains or something? And then when the fight came, he got fucked up. That reminds me of Liverpool yesterday.
I think Terry's right. It's like when Chelsea during the opening days, like we won the title. The next summer we bought Michael Essien, won the title again. The next summer we signed Michael Ballack. It's one of those where you not only are you buying people to hoping they have the mentality to come in and play first team, but it's also to inspire your players that you've got there that we're not going to settle. We're not settling for you.
I agree.
I think it's also we've sort of conformed to the idea that FSG are not and the club that they're not going to spend big money. Like unless we're going to sell someone, we're not going to sign anyone big. So I've come to the realization, you know what? I would love Basuma in my team, but we're not going to be spending 40, 50 or 60 million pounds for it. So that's why we have to go for players like a Zakaria or someone like that. All these free transfers that are available, like Mazraoui.
You have to protest. Also, you got to do,
bro.
Man. Like rolling around on your flipping bellies for this FSG, man. Stop it. Stop
bro,
it.
Like
stop.
For me, the biggest problem with that, what you just said, is like that's good when we're 7th and 8th and we've got Brendan Rodgers as our manager. We're not that team anymore. We are one of the best teams in Europe. We should be like look at City signings since we won the Champions League. Bar Jack Grealish, you're telling me we couldn't sign João Cancelo, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake?
Of course you could. Of course you could. And
they're viable players, bro. We could get them.
They're viable players, but we just won't spend the money.
We need to spend the money. We are not 7th place Liverpool anymore.
I've accepted.
You can't accept. No, bro. Then we might as well go back to 7th. Let Salah leave. Let Van Dijk leave, and all these best players go get Konchesky back and fucking Ngog, and let's stay at 7th forever. Because for me,
I hear you.
It doesn't matter.
I think Sum's right. First of all, thank you very much here to Xaber for becoming a legend and super fan of the Football Terrace. So thank you very, very much indeed. None of you have read Gary Neville's book, Red, have you? The book Red when he first retired. Very good
Gary
read.
Neville.
Yeah, very good read. Though. He speaks about the mood at Man United after the 1999 treble-winning season, and he speaks about how good that team was. And he goes, you look in that summer after they were beat to the league and FA Cup by Arsenal, who done the double. They signed one of the best Premier League strikers at the time, Dwight York, and they signed Yap Stam, one of the best centre-backs in the world. They also added that same summer, I believe, Jasper Blomqvist as well. That was a decent fringe player. They won it, and they were the best team in Europe, the best team in England, and they achieved something that no other team had ever done. You read Gary Neville's book, though, and he speaks about how he feels that team should have gone on to win more European success and win more multiple trophies. But he looked at it and said, we never signed enough players. The summer after winning it, the best they signed Mark Bosnich to replace and Tahibi to replace Schmeichel didn't work. The best player they signed was Quinton Fortune, and they got Mikel Silvestre. Every single one of those signings average. The following summer, they signed no one other than Fabian Barthez. So Man United went through 2 summers after being the best team in England and the best team in Europe ever. Treble winners, the first proper treble winners. And the best player they signed, technically outfield player, We signed more goalkeepers in the next 2 windows than anybody else. The best outfield player we bought was Quinton Fortune. Where what Man United should have done the summer after that, we went and got one of Sebastian Veron and Ruud van Nistelrooy. Van Nistelrooy, brilliant signing for us. But Van Nistelrooy, Varane didn't work. But Van Nistelrooy came 2 years too late. We actually then, by the time he came in, other parts of the team needed to be refreshed. And by the time we never really cooking under Van Nistelrooy, we won one league title. Van Nistelrooy and another world-class outfield player should have happened the summer after winning the league. And what Gary Neville said happened internally is that Man United players became slightly lackadaisical. Equally, we were so good in England, we become complacent in Europe. And what he said they lacked is world-class players coming in and pushing them in training, pushing them to be better, keeping everybody on their toes. Everybody became a bit set in their ways. And at the elite, you can still challenge for titles, you can still win domestic things when you're the best, and that Man United team were. But when you go to the elite end of the spectrum, small, minute inches cost you. And I think that's where Liverpool have gone wrong. Like, one of the reasons why Spurs went backwards for me, one of the reasons, is they didn't bring anybody in at any point to challenge Harry Kane. Harry Kane was just given this free ride that he is going to be they should have absolutely brought in a player that was going to challenge him and that was going to make it hard for him. And if he does go on a 2 or 3 month bad run, he's on the bench. But there isn't that.
That was meant to be Vincent Janssen, wasn't it?
No, that wasn't meant to be him. We all know Janssen was there just to cover for the bench.
They spent
they've
quite
never
a lot of
given
money on him, though.
No, but they've never given Harry Kane an actual competition. Like, they haven't brought in a Vlahovic. They haven't brought in who else out there? They haven't brought in like Haaland. They haven't brought in like a top level player to be like Kane, compete with this guy.
Harry Kane has been rushed back from injury each time because there's nobody else there. Happy Egg says, wrong, Terry. Klopp will drop players if they aren't playing well. Look, you had Mane that's gone 11 games without creating a goal or scoring a goal, wasn't playing well, and he's starting. And that isn't like a dig at Mane. It's because there's nobody else. Mane
and Jota was... Sorry, go on, bro. Go on, talk.
Mane out of form is better than what's on the bench at their best. That's the maddest thing. Mm-hmm. And that isn't a dig at Jurgen Klopp. That's a dig at your football club for not giving him more. I know there's this statement he wants a smaller squad. Do people realize Liverpool have more registered players than Man City? There is this fallacy like Klopp likes a small squad of 12 players. It's almost like that's how it sounds. They have got more players in their squad than Man City, registered players than Man City. So it's crazy. It's about the depth of quality over the number of individuals, and that's where Liverpool have fallen behind for me. And Chelsea are just probably 1 year away. Maybe they need an extra year, a few extra players in there. But I think that's all played a part. I want to ask you, KJ, quickly before we end the stream today. No Maguire tonight. Maybe Phil Jones starting. Phil Jones and Varane partnership. What are you saying?
The only time I want to see Phil Jones is when I use him for silver stars on FIFA, bro. Like, that's the only time. I don't want to be seeing no Phil Jones in real life no more. Like, I'm not trying to bag on him. Like, he's been here for too long. He's had a very, very, very hard injury period for the last 2 years. He should be going and playing football at a level that suits him. This is not the level no more. I need to see Matic there. People say Mengi, but Mengi's about to go join Birmingham City on loan, so they're not going to risk him just in case he gets injured. The day or 2 days before he actually goes on for a loan move where he actually get game time. So it has to be Matic for me. I don't want to be seeing no Phil Jones, man, like that.
Ferguson calls him a quality player. You can't be wrong.
I slightly disagree. I think it should be Mengi. I think it should be someone who's a centre back goes into that position. I still feel like. I don't like this square pegs round hot. If you've got them, I understand. What? I understand your
Phil
concept.
Jones played football for like 2 years.
No,
man.
I'm not asking for Phil Jones to play. Mengi, okay. Like you put a centre back in a centre back position if there's a centre back at the club, and I understand if he gets injured, he can't go on his loan. But Matic, I don't know. It makes me. He's not. You saw what happened with Ndidi when he was. I know that Leicester went on to win, but in those early stages, legs, that speed, I'd worry. But I hear you. I do hear you on that. Joshua Jack here says Maguire is actually injured. Terry, by the way, the last time Phil Jones played a competitive game was Tranmere Rovers in the FA Cup, where he scored in the mud. He did. Can you imagine? Do you know what I would love though for Phil Jones, romantically? 1-1, 92nd minute, corner to United, Phil Jones, bullet header, wins the game. I would love that for him.
That'd be a great story, man.
I'd be like,
That'd be a
do you know
great story.
what I mean? I'd love
for
it.
him, and then he leaves like the day after. Oh, beautiful way, man. Beautiful way.
Wait, so Lindelof and Bayer are also out as well.
Bayer's touch and go. Lindelof is still recovering from whatever condition he's got with his breathing.
Yeah.
So,
I thought Bailey was at AFCON. Is he
no, he's not there yet.
Is after this game.
It's his last game. isn't it?
Or we could go with McTominay. Plays there for
he does
back three.
He does play
Scotland.
for back three though. Back three.
Yeah,
for,
but he plays them more regularly. He plays them more regularly than Matic does.
Yeah,
Get
but
Donny
back
in
three-
midfield.
How about Scott and Jones? Brexit centre
That'd be
back
great.
pairing.
That'd
That'd be
be great.
amazing.
Imagine Phil Jones. If we played a game with Phil Jones and Scott McTominay as our centre backs and we won the game, I feel like
The world will implode.
Well, I don't know. I feel like they'd have to carve from platinum a special Premier League trophy to award to Ralph Ragnick to win one game with your centre back. That's honestly, I'd rather have Titus Bramble at 42 years old than them two.
Fucking hell. Titus Bramble, what a player.
Everybody that's tuned in today, thank you. All of you that have signed up to our membership scheme again today, thank you very much. We're back later on today. Of course, match reactions for the Wolves Man United game. Very intriguing to see what happens. Boys, thanks for all jumping on the panel. What do you say? It should be Scott, Terry, at the back. Yeah, I think some people, maybe we'll go for it at the back. You know, that generally when you're weak centre-back wise, numbers, teams tend to go for it at the back to cover that problem. So maybe that's a solution. Do you know what I mean? We've got great wing backs. Luke Shaw one side, stick AWB on the other. It'll be brilliant to watch. It'll be a thing of beauty. It'll be a thing that's sarcasm for anybody that missed it. David says, if Jones scores the 90th minute winner, then he should celebrate, carry on running down the tunnel all the way back to Blackburn Rovers. Bless his heart, bless him. But tonight's basically, if he plays, tonight can just be his testimonial. So there we go. Everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless.